Hello everybody and welcome back to a Nurse Love 101, and I'm your host Catherine, and today we are talking about why you want to become a nurse, why I became a nurse, why everybody should become a nurse, and what you really need to know about nursing before you do that quantum leap into this profession. Okay, so a little background about me. I am 44 years old. I have been a nurse for about 10 years, a little bit over 10 years. I originally came from the emergency room. Right now, I am working in an outpatient setting in an outpatient doctor's office where I am the charge nurse. That's a little background about me. What I'm here to see is nursing right for you? So I'm going to share my story about how I became a nurse, and I hope that really opens up your horizons to see if nursing is really the right profession for you. Because I will tell you, it's a hard profession. It's not a profession that's made for everybody. It's not a profession that everybody should do. And if you truly are unaligned with that profession, especially something like nursing, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it right away. And it's going to save you a whole bunch of time, money, and overall experience that you don't necessarily need to experience. So for me, a little background about me. I was born with a medical condition called transposition of the great vessels. I had open heart surgery at 11 months. I still have transposition of the great vessels. It was not corrected. So for all the nursing students, look it up. Transposition of great vessels, look it up, honey. It's going to probably be on a pop quiz. It's a rare condition. But it showed me that a lot of people care for other people. And it showed me that growing up in a hospital setting or in and out the doctor's office, taught me a lot. Right now, I'm actually wearing a cardiac Holter monitor for 14 days. That will never go away. It will never change. It's who I am. It's a part of me. So growing up in that area of life of having a chronic condition, I always felt very safe in the hospitals, very secure in the doctor's office. I mean, some people hate going to the doctors. To me, it wasn't that big of a deal. It was something that I was doing for, every year of my life. I had a checkup, I had an echo, I had an EKG, I had blood work drawn. It was like a whole shebang, right? A whole cardiac workup since I was a baby. So that's all I knew, right? I knew I wanted to do something medical. I just didn't know what. I became a young mom, had my first kid at 20. So if you know how old I am, 44, so I have a 24-year-old, and had my second kid at 24, and then I had my tubes tied. So at this time, I'm like, what do I want to do? I want to do something medical. I don't want to be a doctor. I think I want to be like a medical terminologist or something where I'm still working with the doctors, but I don't have to devote too much time to school. So I go back to school with aspirations of doing medical terminology and hopefully possibly working in a doctor's office or working from home. As I'm in my class, I'm getting, coursework that's functioned around medical terminology, and every once in a while, the professor, who happened to be a nurse, would hit us with a bonus question. And it was a bonus question that was more focused on nursing versus medical terminology. And I was trying to get a good grade, honey. Let's be honest. I was trying to get a good grade. I didn't know what I wanted to be, but I knew I wanted to get a good grade, and I would answer that bonus question. So I kept answering the bonuses questions. I was doing pretty good with the medical terminology. I was doing pretty good with the medical stuff. It was kind of like feeling like my jam, So one day after class, she asked me, she goes, "So what is it that you want to do?" And I'm like, well, I think I want to be a medical assistant or work in medical terminology or do something like that because I have two small kids and I don't want to spend too much time in school. And nothing against medical assistants or medical terminology or billing or any of that thing. If that is where you are centered, it's an amazing career and you should be very proud. She said to me, how come you don't want to be a nurse? And I was like, a nurse? You know how long they got to go to school? Okay, and this was back in, and you know, we're just gonna say, just back in the young 2010s. And I'm like, a nurse? Me, a nurse? Me, a nurse? I got 2 kids, honey. I can't be a nurse. I got 2 small kids. I don't got time for this. She's like, no. I think you would make a good nurse. And I'm like, really? And then she's like, yeah, just go to school a little bit here, go to school a little bit there. Before you know it, it's going to accumulate and you're going to be getting an opportunity to apply to nursing programs. And I'm like, okay, you know, and back then my husband was the only one who worked. And, you know, and I'm thinking I'm going to be a medical assistant in like, you know, in a couple, like 8 months. But then now I'm thinking I want to be a nurse. So I'm like, you know, thinking, I look, how much do nurses make? Obviously, they're making more than the medical assistants and the medical terminologists. And I'm like, so let me talk to my husband about this. So I get home, talk to my husband. He's like, well, how much longer you gotta go to school, girl? And I tell him, okay, anywhere from, you know, another 4 to 6 years roughly, because you gotta remember, I was just starting. And, you know, it takes about 2 years to get your prereqs, and then it takes another 2 years if you get into associate's degree program, or it takes another 3 years if you get into a nursing program. And that's all if everything falls in a row with these nice little apples and da-da-da-da-da-da. So I'm like, I think I want to be a nurse. I'm going to be a nurse. And he's like, more power to you. Looks like they make some money. I'm tired of working so much. Girl, be a nurse. So that's basically how the whole I want to be a nurse started. Was thankfully from a professor at the time gave me the idea that I would make a good nurse. And in all actuality, I think I always wanted to become a nurse. I just didn't have that confidence to say, I can do it. I can do the schooling. I can do the time. I can do all the hard work that comes with nursing. I think at that time I was really in a space where I didn't have that much confidence. And I was also in a space where I always felt like it was hard for me to do learning because I also had a learning disability all through elementary school and really had to teach myself how to learn nurse lingo, nurse language, the anatomy, the physiology, and also the critical thinking behind it. It takes me a lot longer to comprehend stuff. I still have a lot of problems with speaking, though spelling and grammar, all that stuff. We'll talk about that in another video. So when you finally decide that nursing is what's right for you, there's some things that you're going to have to learn about nursing before you make that full yes, I want to be a nurse. Nursing isn't glamorous. There's a lot of times you might be cleaning up poop. Nursing isn't beautiful. There's going to be some sadness, some grief, some areas of insecurities, some areas of real self-doubt is going to come up. And it's possibly going to take you anywhere from 4 to 6 years, depending on where you start with your nursing career, if you decide to get your associates or your bachelor's. Me, I have my associates. I'm thinking about going back to get my bachelor's. And the reason why I'm thinking about going back is because I might want to do some higher education, possibly maybe even higher leadership in the corporation that I work for. I really enjoy my employer. I really enjoy where I'm at. And I'm thinking about, advancing. Is that right for everybody? No. Some people it's not right for. That's fine. But what you also have to realize is, as a nurse, is there's going to be a few things that are going to come before you. And when I mean a few things, that few things is the patient. The patient will always come before you, and that is regardless. So if you are feeling burnt out, if you are feeling exhausted, you have to realize, how is that patient feeling? That patient's probably feeling just as bad or worse than you, because patients are there usually because they don't want to be there, right? They usually have a condition that's making them sick, that's making them seek help and medical attention. So no matter how much you make, no matter how much you devote to your hospital organization, no matter how much you really have to give tribute to, the one thing that matters the most is the patient. And I'm speaking of that as a patient. I've had some times where I've been in the hospital setting and didn't really feel like I was getting the medical attention or medical practice that I deserved as a patient. And I'm going to tell you right now, nurses probably make the worst patients. Woo, you know when you have a nurse as a patient. Either they don't tell you anything and they're just waiting to see how you do it on your own, or they're going to tell you from the beginning, well, I'm a nurse and we don't do it like that. So I'm just letting you know right now, nurses make the worst patients. But in actuality, you give a lot of time, tears, sweat, and it's not for the money, it's for the patient. And that, I think, is one of the reasons why I left the emergency room, because I felt like my heart, because I cared for the patients, and my exhaustion was having this toll on me, where I started to feel like I was becoming bitter. I was starting to feel like very jaded, and I'm not a jaded person. That's not one of the reasons why I became a nurse, was for the thrill of the adrenaline related to being an emergency room nurse. One of the reasons why I became a nurse was overall to help people and to provide for my family and make good money. I'm not going to lie and say nurses don't make good money. Nurses make good money. Should nurses be making more? Yes. Most of us have bills to pay, mortgages, and family to raise. So it is a hard profession to leave. I see a lot of nurses do want to leave the profession. And I think some of that is centered because we are stuck and we are burnt out in the area where we just feel like leaving would be the easiest way out, but then we know we're not going to make money at this revenue by doing something else, because we don't have any experience in anything but nursing. So I think that is some of the stuff that we're seeing here as here in California, and here as somebody who has been centered in nursing for over a decade. So for that, make sure that nursing is the right for you. I personally recommend shadowing, learning from another nurse. You know, I'm going to tell you the truth. When my daughter said that she didn't want to be a nurse, I kind of was like, you know, and I'm the only nurse in my family. My mom wasn't a nurse, my dad, nobody else in my family is a nurse but me. So, you know, my daughter first said she wanted to be a nurse, and then after, I think, living with me and coming home during the pandemic, and many nights she would hear me on the phone with my nursing friends, and she said, I don't think nursing's right for me. And you got to be somebody who wants to touch people, right? I mean, not want to, but you have to be able to touch people. You have to be able to see things that you're going to be able to figure out to leave it alone, to walk away from, to leave it there at the bedside. It's very hard, but a lot of us try not to bring it home to our families, the traumas or the sadness or the grief. And no matter what floor you're on, no matter what department you're on, there's always going to be a level of happiness, grief, and exhaustion. And that's going to be anywhere. But in nursing, you are going to see it a little bit more. And my daughter said, she planned on becoming a nurse. She's a little bit older now, and then probably about maybe the beginning of 2020, she said, I don't think I want to be a nurse. And what are you going to do? I would rather her tell me now that she doesn't want to be a nurse and find something that she wants to be doing than be in a profession that she absolutely does not like. So as somebody who's thinking about becoming a nurse, I would say you have to realize that you are here to bring service for the patient. You are here for the patient. You aren't here to only collect a check, even though that is something that a lot of people get into nursing for. I mean, yeah, you make good money as a nurse, especially in some states more than others, but your primary focus shouldn't be based off of income. It should be based off of you really care for people, you really care for medical research, you really care for the medical profession, and you care for your corporation. And that is something that is hard for people to understand. When you become a nurse, there's a lot of corporations, there's a lot of hospitals, there's a lot of community that maybe aren't giving what nurses ultimately deserve. But as a nurse, as a professional, where you place your bag at, where you put your nursing bag at, and lay your stethoscope down, and if you say, I could leave this job tomorrow or whatever, then maybe you shouldn't be there, because a lot of the nursing leaders and a lot of the nursing mentors or charge nurses or people who are in administration, you have to remember they work for that corporation as well. They sacrifice a lot of time and stress as well related to the medical profession. It's not an easy profession to be in. Of course, if it was up to us, we would have an endless budget where we can, give more and more, but unfortunately we aren't the ones in charge of it. So, but you have to genuinely care about the facility that you're at and for the community you're serving. I would say if you want to become a nurse, or you can be a travel nurse and pop around everywhere you go, which is kind of cool. So really think about it, really write the pros and cons to nursing. There's long shifts, there's possibility for overtime, there's 8-hour shifts, there's, health benefits. That is a pro. Most hospitals really supply good health insurance, which is something that I'm very grateful for, being somebody with a chronic medical condition. It's something that I am grateful for, to have a employer who takes care of my health insurance and for my family. So nursing is, to me, still one of the best professions out there for anybody, women or men. And I honestly think that everybody should do a deep dive and really follow and see, do I really want to be a nurse? Because there's a possibility you could get burned out, be working long hours. You might not have time with your family. You're going to have to learn some good coping skills. It's going to be hard to leave some of this stuff away, like leave it away for the next day, but it is an amazing profession. You have to think about the pros. There's many departments to get in, there's many areas you can concentrate on. There's administration, there's education, There's now even like this telecom nursing and, advice care nursing. So there's many areas in nursing. You don't necessarily have to be at bedside. You do have to be able to evolve with medical research, as we see with the pandemic. A lot of nurses who possibly didn't want to get, the big vaccination, some stepped away from nursing. And, if that's what they felt was the best thing for them, then more power to them. But medical research is always evolving. And as a nurse, if you don't agree with it, there is a good chance that it might ethically be somewhere you don't want to be aligned with. Like if you say, I don't believe in this vaccination, or I don't believe in this, or I don't believe in that, and medical research is saying, well, this is what we're doing, you might have to choose. So that's something that I think people should look into as well when they're deciding if they want to be a nurse. So thank you guys for hopping on Nurse Love 101. And I think the next video will be about nursing school, how to pick a nursing school, what nursing school I went to, and I'm going to tell you a little horror story about nursing school. Everybody have an amazing day. Bye.